At this church, we can take our masks off. We can be truly who we are. There's no don't ask, don't tell policy in this church. It's tell and be proud and be very proud of who you are, who God made you to be, because everybody is a child of God.
Preach that.
And I know that's still uncomfortable for a lot of people, so I don't want to pretend like everybody's just automatically, all right, we're with you, amen to that, because it still is a struggle for people. And a lot of men, it's still a struggle. And so we should be honest about it, and we should talk about it, and we should get to know other people, because when you have an uncle like my son has, and you know what a great person he is, and you know somebody, you start to change your attitude. You start to think differently. People you love, when you know somebody you love is a certain way, and you know they can't change, they're not going to change, and then you start to, that's what changes us. But sometimes men have to get together and talk a little bit and open up with one another, get to know each other across these differences, cross-culturally and otherwise, so that we can truly learn what it means to be fully human, what it means to be fully human across all of our differences. There's a book titled Raising Cain, which says, we have to teach our boys that there are many ways to become a man, that there are many ways to be brave and to be a good father, to be loving and strong and successful. We need to praise the artist, the entertainer, the missionary, and the athlete, the soldier, the male nurse, the store owner, the teacher, and the CEO. We need to be sure that we communicate to our sons that there are many ways for a boy to make a contribution in this life. Now, what's been happening over the past 40 years is that women have done a much better job of coming together and discussing amongst themselves the changing roles and expectations that they have in our society. Now, men, we've been a little bit slower in doing our work to come together to talk about the changing roles and expectations that have been put upon us in this world that we live in today. For many of us, the roles that our fathers played, both at work and in society and at home, are different from the roles that we're expected to play today. Plus, with the high rates of divorce, broken families, there's now 2 generations have many young men who were raised in homes without any men. So there is a need in our culture for men to get together in intergenerational, cross-cultural groups to talk, to mentor one another and support each other as we redefine what does it mean to be a man. Now, many of us could also use some help in cultivating our hearts. Right? Men, we're not taught, as women often are, to share our deep feelings, and we're especially not taught how to share them with other men. But men, like everyone else, we confront illness, death, divorce, job stress, job loss, relationship troubles, sexual concerns, aging, and many other issues that create intense emotions within us. Usually, a man's sole source of intimacy is his spouse or significant other, his sole, single source. But men, let's be honest, many of us do not do a very good job of creating appropriate relationships with appropriate intimacy outside of our primary relationship. Many of us, some of us anyway, don't do that good job of creating intimacy within our own relationships. And what makes this even harder is that our primary relationships, no matter what, go through periods of distance and hostility and confusion. And when that person is the sole connection that we have for intimacy in our lives, that leaves us somewhat stranded. Women do a better job of creating these networks and friends for their own emotional support in these naturally hard times in any relationship. So what happens when we internalize these emotions, because we have no way of expressing them, it's not that we don't have them, it's not that men don't have them, we have them, they're just as intense, we just don't have as many tools. And when we suppress them, we sometimes internalize them and they become depression. You don't have to raise your hand, but we know it happens. Or they come out as rage and temper. Or sometimes we can keep them at bay for a while with alcohol or other drugs, but not for long. And sometimes men act out through illicit liaisons and other activities that further alienate us from ourselves and from our primary relationships. This is real now. We're taking off the mask. We're talking to each other like adults. Some men have been fortunate enough, of course, to find mentors, to find other men who have helped them to develop a more full sense of their humanity, and other women who've come and helped them to understand a full sense of their humanity. But most often, men, we find ourselves after school, after we grow up and get out of school, it becomes a lot harder to make those bonds with other men. I mean real bonds, close bonds, people we can count on. People that will be there for us through everything. People who will really smile when we have something joyful to tell them. You can always tell when you say something joyful and they smile, or whether they really are joyful for you. And those people who smile with you, those are your close friends. They're the ones that will drag you, come down when you're in jail. They'll drag you out of where you're in a crack house. They're going to come get you. It doesn't matter. They're going to come get you wherever, and they're going to stick with you wherever you are. We need those relationships in our lives. Now, this has become a passion for me throughout the last 15 years of my life. Everywhere I've lived, I've created a men's group for me to be a part of. 6 to 8 men. We get together weekly or every few weeks and share our lives and all the details of our lives. The craziest thoughts that pop into our heads from time to time, as well as our deepest fears and deepest concerns. And let's face it, when men get together, we have a good time. We just have a lot of fun together. So these have been really important relationships that have helped shape me, that help me understand. And I want to ask you, do you have such relationships that help you to balance strength and vulnerability, power and weakness, your self-confidence with self-reflection, the ability to express sadness as well as anger? We're better with the anger, most of us men, than we are with the sadness. The ability to balance playfulness with achievement. If you have men like this in your life, you are blessed. You are truly blessed, and you should thank them when you leave here today and every chance you get, because it is rare to have such men in your lives. And if you don't, I ask you to find some men like that for your life. Because we need these kinds of relationships as men in this day and age to be fully human, fully alive, and to truly know and be all of who we are. Now, I'm hosting a meeting on Tuesday night here in Emerson Hall for anyone who wants to come at 7 o'clock. Any men in this congregation who are interested in coming to a meeting, we're just going to discuss what we might do, what we could do, see who's interested, see what kinds of activities, male-oriented activities, will be of interest. I did this 3 years ago here at the church, and about 88 men showed up, and we came out of that. We created 5 men's groups that are still meeting. Over 3 years later, these men are still meeting. Some of them are going to be there to talk about their experience. It has become the most important group in the lives of almost every one of these men, and you'll hear about that on Tuesday and find out. Some of them do fun and recreational stuff. Some of them get together and talk and share. There's lots of different ways to do it, but we're going to come together and explore what our options are and see and what kind of male activities we can create. So I just want to say, if you're male, if you're young, if you're old, if you're single, if you're partnered, if you're gay, if you're straight, if you're transgender, whoever you are, we invite you to be there and come out and be a part of what we're going to be forming here in this church in terms of our men's groups. Now, I'm going to go sit down, and it's going to look like, I've taken up more time than I'm supposed to. I apologize. That's why she put me first. I'm going to sit down, and it's going to look like I'm thinking about and doing nothing. But I want you to know that I will be listening intently to what my beloved colleague, Tamara, has to say.